Welcome to Movies in the Making. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the 1999 satirical action film Fight Club, originally released by 20th Century Fox, now 20th Century Studios, and directed by David Fincher. Here, we will dive deep into the story of the production of this film. We at Movies in the Making know that the first, and second, rule of Fight Club is to not talk about Fight Club, but this film is that much of a cult classic that there is a lot to talk about to the point where breaking those rules is impossible to resist. And that is what we shall do, looking behind the scenes discussing how the film was made. So, sit back and enjoy the show. You are all in for a salty ride. After Chuck Palahniuk's first novel, Invisible Monsters, was rejected for being too disturbing, he wrote Fight Club, an even more provocative story. Inspired by an incident at work where no one acknowledged his injuries, Palahniuk's novel critiques 1990s masculinity, depicting men trapped in consumerism and yearning for purpose. Though the book Fight Club initially sold poorly, a copy reached film producer Ross Grayson Bell, who was captivated by its twist and shared it with 20th Century Fox producer Laura Ziskin. She saw potential and secured the film rights for $10,000. David Fincher became the director of Fight Club after the novel by Chuck Palahniuk caught the attention of producers Josh Donen and Ross Bell, who believed the material was perfect for a film adaptation. Although the book had initially been dismissed by Fox, Laura Ziskin, head of Fox 2000 Pictures, quickly bought the rights after hearing a recorded portion of the dialogue. Fincher, one of four directors considered, with one of the other three being Peter Jackson, who would later direct the Lord of the Rings trilogy, was drawn to the book's themes and alienation and was eager to work with Fox again after a rough experience on Alien 3, 1992. He also resonated with the book's exploration of identity and masculinity, which he saw as a modern twist on The Graduate, Embassy Pictures, 1967. During production, Fincher clashed with the studio over certain elements, including the famous "I want your abortion" line, but he successfully fought to keep the film true to its vision. Meat Loaf, who portrayed Robert Paulson in Fight Club, revealed that one of the reasons the film was so special to him was because of his close involvement in the directing process with David Fincher. Spending nearly 10 months on set, Meat Loaf sat beside Fincher during filming, and at one point, the director began inviting him to help select key takes. Fincher, known for filming dozens of takes, would have Meat Loaf watch and help choose between them, a process that Meat Loaf himself initially found surprising but eventually embraced. This collaboration was one of the highlights of his career, alongside his role in Focus, Paramount Classics, 2001, another film he deeply appreciated for its complex characters. Despite his success in music, Meat Loaf did not consider himself as a musician, instead describing his musical work as acting through different characters. Edward Norton was cast in Fight Club after catching Fincher's attention with his performance in The People vs. Larry Flint, Columbia Pictures, 1996. Fincher was immediately impressed by Norton's ability to bring depth to complex characters, and Norton, in turn, was drawn to the script of Fight Club, quickly becoming passionate about the project. His enthusiasm for the role made him an ideal choice for the part of the unnamed narrator, the protagonist whose life is upended by his encounter with Tyler Durden. Brad Pitt was ultimately cast as Tyler Durden, a role that had originally been considered for Russell Crowe. Pitt stood out to Fincher due to his charisma and ability to embody the rebellious spirit of Durden. While Crowe was the first choice, it was Pitt's energy and fit for the role that ultimately secured him the part, allowing him to bring the iconic character to life in a way that would become one of his most memorable performances. Helena Bonham Carter's casting in Fight Club was a lengthy and complicated process. While Brad Pitt and Edward Norton signed on early, finding the right actress for the role of the character Marla Singer proved more challenging. Janeane Garofalo was initially considered, with Fincher offering her the part if she liked the script, but she did not land the role, partly due to Edward Norton's objections. Reese Witherspoon was suggested by the studio, but Fincher felt she was too young for the character, and an awkward pitch to Julia Louis-Dreyfus also fell flat. The casting saga took a turn when Brad Pitt showed Fincher a scene from The Wings of the Dove. Miramax 1997, where Bonham Carter portrayed a deeply emotional character, impressing Fincher with her vulnerability. Despite her family's initial distaste for the script, Bonham Carter was conceived after meeting with Fincher and ultimately took on the risky role, which became one of her most iconic performances. If it were not for Pitt's intervention, Fight Club could have had a very different Marla. Edward Norton responded to Janeane Garofalo's claim that he, Norton, cost her the role of Marla in the film. Garofalo said Norton told Fincher she didn't have the chops for the role and instead pushed for his then girlfriend, Courtney Love, to be cast. However, Brad Pitt reportedly rebutted that suggestion and the role went to Bonham Carter. In response, Norton denied the accusation, asserting that Fincher made all the final decisions on casting and that he had no say in the matter. He expressed regrets that Garofalo had that impression and invited her to say hello if they crossed paths in their New York neighborhood. Despite the tension, Garofalo said Pitt later apologized to her for the situation. Jeff Cronenweth became the cinematographer for Fight Club after a long history of working closely with his father, legendary cinematographer Jordan Cronenweth, and Fincher himself. Having been exposed to filmmaking from such an early age and gaining experience working as a loader, assistant, and operator on various sets, Jeff developed a deep understanding on the craft. His first major opportunity as a cinematographer came when Fincher, who had previously collaborated with Jeff's father on music videos and commercials, offered him a role for Fight Club. By that time, Jeff had built a reputation working as a camera operator on films like Seven, New Line Cinema, 1995, and The Game, Gramercy Pictures, 1997, but he had never shot a feature film himself. Fincher's trust in him as a storyteller and his belief in Jeff's abilities allowed him to take on the high-profile project, marking it as Cronenweth's first feature film as a cinematographer. Fight Club cinematography utilized a desaturated, bland palette in the scenes before Tyler's arrival to create a depressive visual environment that mirrors the protagonist's life. The transition between Jack's dreary fluorescent-lit office and his meticulously curated designer apartment underscores the purgatorial nature of his work-life balance, a condition also explored in Office Space, 20th Century Fox, 1999. Cronenweth and Fincher used the film's plot and struggle to play with levels of realism, particularly in a striking sequence where Jack's condo transforms into a 3D IKEA catalog layout, shot using a motion control camera. This sequence, which blends cinematic illusionism with product branding, anticipates the tactile design of Panic Room, Columbia Pictures, 2002, and the meticulous details in Zodiac, Paramount Pictures, 2007. The destruction of Jack's apartment, akin to Zabriskie Point, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, 1970, serves as the catalyst for his transformation, forcing him into a dilapidated house with Tyler, signaling the start of his escape from the sterile, consumer-driven existence he had been living. The fight scenes in Fight Club were choreographed to feel gritty and raw, reflecting the film's overall realistic and brutal tone. Fincher and his team worked with stunt coordinators to create physical confrontations that were not just about flashy moves, but also about the genuine messiness and unpredictability of real fights. The choreography emphasized realistic elements, such as characters sustaining injuries, making mistakes, and struggling with the physical toll of their violence. Instead of focusing on the elegance of martial arts or perfect combat, the fights were designed to appear visceral and chaotic, with a focus on making them as believable as possible, showcasing the flaws, exhaustion, and roughness that would accompany real-life physical confrontations. Fight Club was primarily filmed in various locations throughout Los Angeles, utilizing several recognizable spots to enhance its connection with the audience. Key filming locations included St. Francis of Assisi Religious Center, which served as the setting for a support group meeting, though it was actually a Catholic church located south of Hollywood. The iconic Fight Club itself was filmed at a real building on 133B of Tyler's house, were filmed on set at the 20th Century Fox Studios, providing a controlled environment for the film's distinctive visuals. Additionally, the old Clifton Silver Spoon cafeteria was used for the scene where Norton's character warns Marla, though the restaurant closed shortly after filming. Other notable locations include Melrose Avenue and North Heliotrope Drive, where Marla has a pivotal scene after overdosing on sleeping pills, and the Olympic Theatre on 8th Street, which was used for a scene where Marla exits a performance. The Ukrainian Cultural Center on Melrose Avenue also featured an important moment where Marla and a narrator meet for the first time. These varied Los Angeles locations help bring the gritty, dark atmosphere of Fight Club to life, with the city providing the perfect backdrop for the film's exploration of alienation and societal disillusionment. James Haygood became the editor for Fight Club after years of collaboration with Fincher, dating back to the mid-1980s where they first worked together on music videos. Their partnership grew as Fincher's career advanced, leading to Haygood's editorial work on major projects such as The Game. Haygood's background in music video editing, including iconic projects like Madonna's Vogue, gave him a strong foundation in narrative structure, rhythm, and pacing, skills that translated well into feature films. His move into editing feature films with Fincher came after a period of working as a tape operator and editor in the music video industry, where his understanding of timing and storytelling was honed. Haygood's editorial style, influenced by his experience with music videos, was integral to shaping the distinctive, fast-paced, and intense narrative of Fight Club, marking him as a key collaborator in Fincher's visual storytelling. Fincher faced numerous difficulties while directing Fight Club, particularly due to the film's subversive themes and unconventional narrative. The studio, 20th Century Fox, struggled to understand how to market a film that featured graphic violence, anti-corporate sentiment, and a complex critique of masculinity. Initially envisioned as a low-budget project, the film's budget ballooned to $63 million due to the extensive set construction, digital effects, and Fincher's meticulous approach to every aspect of production, creating tension with the studio. Executives were confused and appalled during the early screenings, with one recalling their reaction as flopping around like acid-crazed carp, while Rupert Murdoch, the media mogul behind Fox, was reportedly hostile to the film's anti-establishment message. Despite this, Fox's studio head, Bill Mechanic, remained a supporter, and the film's journey continued. As the production proceeded, the film's budget grew and the filmmakers faced intense scrutiny, especially with its politically charged content that openly critiqued capitalism and consumer culture. The film's combination of sharp humor, violent imagery, and a fractured narrative led to confusion about its tone. This division within the studio was reflected in the film's marketing, which fluctuated between promoting its brutal fight scenes and its more artistic, philosophical aspects. The line, "I want your abortion," from the film was cut due to Ziskin's concern about its possible offensiveness, fearing that it would alienate viewers. While Fincher initially filmed the scene with the line, he agreed to reshoot it after audience members laughed, but Ziskin insisted on removing it. However, Fincher replaced it with another controversial line, "I haven't been fucked like that since grade school," which, to Ziskin's dismay, elicited an even bigger laugh during test screenings. Despite her protests, Fincher stood by this decision, reflecting his commitment to maintaining the film's raw, provocative tone. The Dust Brothers became composers for Fight Club after being personally approached by Fincher, who preferred hiring non-professional film composers for the project. Known for their work with artists like Beastie Boys and Beck, the Dust Brothers were tasked with creating the film's original score, which remains the only film score they have ever composed. Fincher's unconventional choice contributed to the unique sound of the film, which has since become iconic, solidifying Fight Club as a cult classic and helping to establish Fincher as an auteur filmmaker. As of the 28th of January 2025, Fight Club has an 81% critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a 67 out of 100 critics score rating on Metacritic, an 8.8 rating on IMDb, and a 4.3 rating on Letterboxd. The film's budget was about $63 million, but only grossed about $101 million following its initial release date of the 15th of October 1999. The film resonated with a generation of young men grappling with identity and societal expectations in the 1990s. Despite a rocky start, the film gained traction for word of mouth, building a dedicated following and sparking real-life fight clubs. The film's critical success grew with home video sales, and, over time, it solidified its place as one of David Fincher's masterpieces. While its themes of rebellion, masculinity, and violence still sparked debate, Fight Club's legacy endures, influencing pop culture despite its controversial message. The film's impact continues, with some viewing it as a satirical commentary on frustration and alienation, while others see it as a dangerous glorification of violence. And that wraps up our deep dive into the making of Fight Club. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay updated on all things movies in the making. Let us know in the comments what you think of Fight Club, or if you have any favorite moments from that film we did not touch upon, or what film you would like to hear covered by this channel. Also be sure to check out our community page, where we announce what films we talked about by this channel each week. New posts arrive every Friday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time on Movies in the Making, where we will be talking about The Seventh Seal, Bing's film industry, 1957, and more films to follow along the way. Tune in for more Movies in the Making as we uncover the stories behind cinema's most unforgettable films. This has been Jason Scotchmer, film enthusiast and passionate about the arts.